In the glittering heart of Dubai, where wealth hides every secret, one shocking crime shattered a powerful family's honor. What could drive a billionaire's son to commit an unthinkable act against the one person who held his darkest truth? Stay with me, because this story will take you from silence to betrayal to a murder that changed everything. The desert night was heavy with silence. The wind carried a faint scent of salt from the nearby sea. Inside the marble villa, the air smelled of perfume mixed with sweat. The son of the billionaire sat in the dimly lit room, his jaw tight, his eyes restless. Every corner of the house glowed with gold and glass, but he felt trapped inside a cage of fear. The maid stood near the curtains, her hands shaking as she clutched her belly. Her voice was soft, trembling, filled with both courage and despair. She whispered about truth, about life growing inside her, about responsibility that could not be ignored. The young man's heart pounded louder than the ticking clock on the wall. He felt each beat echo in his throat, hot and suffocating. His skin prickled as if invisible fingers pressed against his chest. Honor, the word repeated in his mind like a drumbeat. Family name, shame, legacy. Her eyes glistened with tears, and in the dim light they looked like shards of glass. The sound of her breath filled the room, uneven, rapid, cutting through the silence. He stepped closer, the polished marble cold under his bare feet. The villa's chandeliers trembled slightly from the hum of the air conditioning, sending fractured beams across the floor. He could smell her fear. It clung to the air, sharp, metallic, like blood before it spilled. The weight of his father's shadow pressed down on him, crushing, unrelenting. The maid's lips parted as if to speak again, but no words came out. The room seemed to close in, walls leaning forward, suffocating, watching. His hand twitched as it reached toward the drawer. Inside, something cold and heavy waited. The silence thickened, and the night outside seemed to hold its breath. His fingers curled around the steel, smooth and merciless. The weight of it dragged at his arm, yet his grip tightened. He could hear his own breath, ragged and shallow, mixing with the faint hum of the air conditioning. Her eyes widened as she saw the glint in his hand. She stepped back, her heels tapping against the marble like desperate signals of escape. The walls seemed to echo every sound, magnifying her fear. The chandelier's crystals swayed, scattering light across her face like broken fragments of hope. She whispered his name, not with anger, but with pleading. Her voice cracked, trembling with both sorrow and mercy. The young man felt his skin burn, as if fire crawled beneath his flesh. His ears rang, drowning her words in a storm of guilt and rage. The steel rose higher, heavy, trembling, alive in his hand. Her cry split the silence, raw and piercing. At that moment the air froze and the villa seemed to stop breathing. The sound of metal cut through the stillness. Her body shuddered, a sharp gasp escaping her lips. The glow of the chandelier reflected on the wetness spreading across her dress. A bitter smell filled the room, iron and salt, staining the air with death. Her hands trembled as they reached for her swollen stomach, fingers curling in helpless defense. Her knees gave way, striking the marble with a hollow crack. The echo lingered, bouncing against the gilded walls like a curse. His chest heaved, each breath shallow, jagged, and poisoned with dread. He stared at her eyes, wide and glassy, still begging for mercy that would never come. The silence after her fall was deafening, louder than any scream. A faint trail of blood crept across the floor, winding like a serpent toward the rug. The son stood frozen, the weapon still warm in his hand, his pulse hammering against his skull. In the distance, a call to prayer drifted from a mosque, low and haunting, merging with the final rattle of her breath. The call to prayer faded, leaving only the echo of his crime. The villa stood silent, a palace of glass and gold now stained with shadows. He dropped the weapon, and the clang rang out like a verdict. His knees buckled, sinking onto the cold marble beside her still body. Tears burned his eyes, but none would fall. The weight of honor that had driven him now chained him in unbearable guilt. He reached out, touching her hand, already growing cold, and the truth struck him like a blade. What he had destroyed was not only her life, but the fragile innocence of the unborn child within her. A legacy of blood, a stain on his name that no silence could cleanse. Outside, the city lights of Dubai glittered, dazzling, indifferent to the tragedy hidden behind villa walls. The sun rose slowly, his shadow stretching long across the marble floor. His father's voice filled his head, demanding silence, demanding strength, demanding loyalty. But within his heart, only emptiness remained. As the first light of dawn crept across the horizon, he walked to the balcony, staring into the desert beyond. The wind carried whispers through the palms, carrying her voice, her plea, her final breath. And in that endless silence he understood. Some sins were too heavy to bury.